Today we are talking about the best times to visit Universal Orlando if you are looking for low crowds. Now, Universal Orlando is becoming one of the most popular vacation destinations in the entire country, and the crowds continue to get higher and higher and higher. Epic Universe opening, it just got even bigger. We're going to be seeing some of the biggest crowds that Universal Orlando has ever seen in the history of its resort. So today I'm going to talk to you about historically all the best times to go and when I think will be the best times to go in the future if you are trying to avoid crowds at Universal Orlando. I'm going to tell you the best times to go. I'm going to give you some tips for those times as well. And at the end of the video, I'll tell you the times you definitely do not want to go to Universal if you are trying to avoid crowds. Through the calendar, so let's start in January. January is a great time to visit Universal Orlando. This is when some of the smallest crowd levels happen, starting around January 4th. Now, just because I said January doesn't mean January 2nd. The New Year's crowds typically don't go away until 4th. It really depends on where the first falls on the calendar. So a lot of times if January 1st, New Year's Day, falls on a Friday, those crowds will hang all the way through the weekend, right? Well, as opposed to if it falls in the middle of the week, they could kind of tail off. So it really depends. Play it safe. The best bet is like January 4th, 5th, 6th is really when the crowd levels from the holidays will completely go away. January as a whole, for the most part, is the best time to visit, except for Martin Luther King Day. That anytime that there's a 3-day weekend really can bring in some crowds. People have that Monday off, they take advantage and come down. So that's the weekend I would avoid if coming in January. Outside of that though, January is a good time to come if you want more moderate crowd levels, especially in that Tuesday through Thursday range. The weekends do bring out the Florida crowds and the Florida families even more, but those weekdays, especially Tuesday through Thursday, is the best time. Now, February is another great time for low crowds. It's very similar to January. We do have President's Day weekend in there, so that draws some crowds. So again, just like Martin Luther King weekend, that is a weekend to avoid. But outside of that, February, especially in the first couple of weeks, is a great time to go. Seeing moderate crowd levels. The con to January and February is you can get some really cold weather. This year, I think we hit a low of like 37 on some of those days, and a lot of those days peaked at like 50. So for some of you people who are from way up north, I know you're going, that's not that bad, but it felt freezing here. People were really bundled up. So we did see moderate crowd levels, but you are not going to get the typical Florida weather you're used to. You'll definitely be packing jackets. Looking to avoid crowds, to me, this is the best time. The cold isn't going to make or break your vacation like busy crowds will. Now in February, I would look to see when Mardi Gras starts for Universal. That'll see a big peak, especially in locals coming out to Universal Orlando those first couple days that Mardi Gras starts, because it's a very unique event and there's not a ton going on at theme parks in February. So I definitely would look at those. But outside of that, February is a good month to be there for moderate crowd levels. Now going over to March. The first week of March typically isn't too bad. After that, all hell can break loose. The spring break crowds, and specifically at Universal, are some of the craziest I've seen. I honestly think they're crazier than the Disney spring break crowds. Hey, which specific week the spring break crowds really hit? You can look at like blockout dates for some annual passes if you really want to know. But really, spring break is all over the place for the entire country. So you have specific weeks. I know at Disney we called it Jersey Week because it was just New Jersey had their specific spring break. And we had all the people from Jersey down. Mardi Gras is going on. Weather's starting to get really nice, so people are more out again. We're starting to see those 80-degree days again. And spring breaks from all over Florida and all over the country. So after that first week of March, you're gonna see some busier crowds throughout all of those weeks. Now moving on to April, the first couple weeks of April, same thing as the last couple of weeks in March. Spring break crowds could be here, it goes back and forth. It's not the best time to come, you're gonna see busy crowds. However, the end of April, the last 2 weeks, depending on the year, you could see more moderate crowds. That's when it's gonna go down. So if you're looking to get the really nice Florida weather with the moderate crowds, in April, it's going to be that last week, maybe the last 2 weeks. It also depends when Easter falls, because that's all over the place. I don't know the rhyme or reason of when Easter's picked each year. So if there is Easter weekend at some point in April, that is similar to the Martin Luther King and President's Day. Avoid that weekend. That will be a busy weekend. But traditionally, the last week of April, maybe even the second to last week, will give you more moderate crowds. Now moving on to May. May is another traditionally good time similar to that last week of April where you'll see moderate crowds in the first couple weeks of May. You're gonna get that really good weather. You're gonna get rain. I'm gonna tell you right now, you're gonna get rain. but you're going to get that really good Florida weather. You're going to get the more moderate crowds in those first couple of weeks before kids start getting out of school and people start taking that summer vacation. Now, the real kicker of May is that Memorial Day weekend. That will really kick off the crowds, but I've honestly seen recently the week before that, May 20th, May 21st, even before that, you're really going to start seeing those crowds kick in. So if you're coming in May and you're able to do it, I would do it in the first couple of weeks of May. That will be the more moderate crowd time. June, July, forget it. Kids out of school, kids are done with college. The weather is beautiful. People traditionally travel to Florida in the summer. You see people that are going to be doing Disney and Universal. People will be coming down to do the beach in Universal. People will be taking these long trips, and they are taking them in June and July. The parks are blazing hot. The parks are busy. June and July, if you are looking to avoid crowds, you need to avoid these 2 months. Okay? It's just how it is. Obviously, 4th of July and those weekends around that typically really skyrocket. We're talking about the busiest you will see some of those times. June and July as a whole, the whole month, you are going to be getting busy crowds at Universal Orlando, especially as these parks continue to evolve and we're getting Epic Universe and new rides and attractions and everything Universal has planned. It's great for us. People will be coming in June and July to see them, and Universal will be opening these towards the summer crowds to bring these people in. If you can, avoid June and July. These will be your highest crowds. Now, August is another one. The first couple of weeks, you were talking about the highest temperatures we will be seeing is the first couple of weeks of August, and some of the highest crowds from June, from July, those type of crowds, those busy crowds, you will be seeing those the first couple of weeks of August. The only time in August you'll see those crowds start to go down is the last week of August. Florida kids will be back in school. A lot of locals will be there. People will be back in college. You will be seeing a big decrease. So the last week of August is a good time to go, especially the beginning of that last week. The thing that's changed that now is obviously Labor Day weekend, and Halloween Horror Nights typically starts that Friday before that. So we're seeing the earlier time for Halloween Horror Nights to start. This year it's August 29th, and we're getting earlier and earlier. So that back end of that week, the crowds will be coming in. So if you're coming that last week of August, you want to avoid the crowds, you should do it at the beginning of that week. That's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Because come that Friday, opening week of Horror Nights, Labor Day weekend, you're going to be seeing insane crowds. So August is a very small window, but there is a window there as opposed to June and July. Now, September, don't let it scare you completely. Horror Nights brings in some crazy crowds. And if you go to Halloween Horror Nights, you know there is no non-busy times anymore at Halloween Horror Nights. There is just busy and very busy. So there is an insane amount of crowds. But when it comes to the theme parks, that's not exactly the case as of right now. Epic Universe, little different, brand new theme park, gonna be busy for forever, for the near future, right? But the theme parks typically, the first couple weeks of the September month, you're still getting the very hot temperatures, but you will see the crowds decrease. So the first couple weeks of September, good time to visit Universal Orlando. Halloween Horror Nights crowds will be here, yes, but they typically don't get into the park till like 3, 4 p.m. when they can, like, they have some Scream early tickets. People can get in at 4 o'clock, or people will come in and stay at the Stay and Scream, so they'll come in there. But if you're visiting and just for the theme parks and not for Halloween Horror Nights, those mornings and early afternoons won't be too busy. You'll see those moderate crowd levels because Halloween Horror Nights goes till 2 a.m. every single night. You don't see a lot of people that wake up and go to the park at 8 a.m. and stay till Halloween Horror Nights till 2 a.m. Again, a Halloween Horror Nights ticket is different than a regular park ticket, so that's an expensive day. Also, Universal Studios Orlando, because it hosts Halloween Horror Nights, it closes usually around 6 p.m., so the park hours are a little shorter. You won't see those crowds in the morning, afternoon. First couple weeks in September is a good time to visit Universal Orlando. October at Universal Orlando is very similar to those first couple weeks of September as well. The only thing you have here is a Columbus Day holiday, so that'll be another 3-day weekend. We see a lot of people travel. Also, as you get closer to Halloween, the Halloween Horror Nights crowds do get very crazy, so you'll see more of that maybe leaking into your park day. But October, you'll be still more of a moderate crowd, and the weather will be getting a little bit cooler. Not cold, a little bit cooler than those August and September days. So this might be a better time too. This first couple weeks of October, I'd recommend for more moderate crowd levels. Again, avoiding that Columbus Day 3-day weekend though. Avoiding around Halloween and the Halloween week, maybe even a little bit before that. November, also first couple weeks in November, moderate crowd levels. Again, you're seeing this with September, October, November, these fall times. Moderate crowd levels first couple weeks. What happens in November? We all know Thanksgiving week. Forget about it. Forget about it. Thanksgiving week is going to be crazy. That entire weekend, the weekend leading up to it. It is a busy, busy time at Universal Orlando, at all the theme parks in Orlando. It is a busy traveling time every year. People still come every year. that is the time to avoid. Now, December is a little different. Again, those weekdays in the first couple of weeks of December, probably good times to visit. You're going to get moderate crowds. Every weekend in December, though, I'd say is busy times. The Grinch meet and greet has become insanely popular. A lot of locals go, and they're going on the weekends when their kids are out of school to do these Christmas activities there, see Christmas at Universal Orlando. Unlike September, October, and November, where I would say the first couple of weeks, I would say the first couple of weekdays of December. You're going to get really busy crowds on the weekends here in December. If you're going in December, you want to see Christmas, plan your trip for moderate crowds the first couple weeks of December on the weekdays, not the weekends. And then towards the end of the month, Christmas, New Year's, forget about it. The busiest crowds of the year. It will be insane. It will be crazy. The crowd levels will be sky high. You will be waiting for everything. Express will be the longest it'll be with Express. That's when typically they say Express, you're waiting half of the actual wait time. It's usually even lower than that. This is when you can see it, where if the ride's 80, you could be waiting 30 to 40 in Express for some of these popular rides. These are crazy times. If you can, avoid these times at all costs if you want low crowds. So I think I ran through the calendar there. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. There's a couple of tips I want to get to, and then I'll circle back again on some times you need to avoid. All right, so a couple bonus tips on top of that. If you can, avoid the weekends still if you want lower crowds. Those times we talked about, those weeks and stuff like that, the weekends are always going to be a little bit busier than the weekdays. I think that's kind of a given, but still, Tuesday through Thursday is going to be your golden time of the week where kids are really in school. Those Mondays, sometimes people take those 3-day weekends, even if it's not an official 3-day weekend, they will take those Mondays or they will come down on a Friday. So that Tuesday through Thursday is your best time during these non-busy times to get those really low crowds. Remember, as you're coming during these moderate crowd times or low crowd times, still arrive early and stay late. If you're staying on property, which I recommend, that early park admission down, it really saves you a lot of time. So when the crowds do come in for the day, they're hitting those popular rides. You've already taken care of those. And go to the not as popular rides and enjoy the low waits there too. And you can really time it well. If you can, come on the weekdays. If not the end of the world. But make sure you're showing up early, staying late, using that early park admission. And then if you're planning your trip, look up some crowd calendars. There's plenty of different options. Again, use this knowledge, use those crowd calendars to find the best time. Universal, again, continues to be an insanely popular place to visit, and it's only growing more and more. The crowds are only going to get busier and busier as the years go right now, with Universal killing it. It's a great trip, but you definitely want to make sure you come at some of these times I just suggested, as opposed to what I'm about to tell you, which is the times to not go, which we kind of already covered, but I want to recap it for you. Again, any 3-day weekend, Martin Luther King Day, President's Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day, these weekends, I cannot state it enough that these get insane, because this is the only time during some of those months people can afford or have the time to travel. And people will take that Thursday, Friday of that weekend, that Tuesday after that 3-day weekend. They'll take that extra time because they already have that extra day off, and it will be insanely busy. The locals, this is their time to really get to the park because they have that extra day. It gets busy and it drags on, not just that Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You will see the effects of that from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and into Tuesday. So avoid these weekends if you can. Avoid the 4th of July. Insane time, one of the busiest times. Avoid Christmas. Avoid Thanksgiving. Avoid New Year's. These are insane times. Any questions, leave them in the comments. I love doing these type of videos, trying to give you guys the best tip of what I've experienced as I've lived here now for 5 years and seen how the crowds go. If you have any other video ideas you want me about Universal Orlando, I'm going to continue to churn them out. I appreciate you watching. I hope this helped. Subscribe if you haven't already. It helps me out a ton. And I will see you on Thursday.